A week on from the election, a handful of seats around the state are still undecided, with the vote too close to call. In South Brisbane, voters will have to go to the polls again in a by-election because of Anna Bligh's resignation. But Labor's not guaranteed the seat to add to its tiny opposition ranks. Francine Norton reports.
Life in West End, in Brisbane's bustling inner city, is quickly getting back to normal. This is Queensland's smallest electorate in area. A week ago, it had the most powerful politician in the state as its local member. Now, Anna Bligh's constituents must go to the polls again to find a replacement. Most are taking it in their stride.
I don't have a problem with it at all. Obviously it's an inconvenience, but she's obviously taken a hard blow.
It's a bit annoying because I can't get around that much.
At the end of the day, it's understandable that she resigned. It was such a huge political blow that you can understand her going, look, I'm just going to gracefully step back.
I don't know, I guess she thought that it was her time to go, but her speech was really good when she resigned, so I think a lot of people will be sad about that, maybe.
The result in South Brisbane hasn't yet been formalised, and the timing of the by-election is still up in the air. Former federal Labor MP and now political researcher Mary Crawford says without Anna Bligh's personal following, voters in South Brisbane face a dilemma.
What would be the reason now for South Brisbane voters to vote Labor? We have, it may be, if they feel strongly about democratic principles, they will vote to make sure that there's one more person in the opposition. On the other hand, if they feel they want to partake in the new LNP government, then they may say we'll throw their lot in with them as well. I think it's going to be a very difficult seat to win, and certainly we would need to see a campaign from Labor that would differentiated itself largely from the last one.
But it seems old factional ties are hard to let go. Defeated Greenslopes MP and right-aligned Cameron Dick was seen as a possible contender for South Brisbane, but ruled himself out. Former Assistant State Secretary and close Bligh ally Jackie Trad has put her hand up.
Look, I think the time for factions is no more. We need to be united, we need to move forward, and we need to put people's interests first and foremost.
The LNP government is already down to business, and one man is hoping to be late to the party. Clem Grehan polled a close second to Anna Bligh in South Brisbane, and he's been endorsed by the LNP to contest the by-election as well.
Both Jackie Trad and Clem Grehan declined to be interviewed by the ABC. Ms Trad said she wanted to wait until after the selection process is finalised. Mr Grehan said he was too busy.
But we will be contesting it vigorously.
There will be a rank and file pre-selection. It is up to the branch members to decide who they believe is the best candidate. I support that decision.
The Greens already have their candidate. Joe Bragg is hoping for a come-from-behind victory.
Morning guys, how's things?
Good, thank you. Yourself? How are you?
Yeah, really well.
Fantastic.
The environmental lawyer stood against Campbell Newman for Lord Mayor of Brisbane in 2008. She's a familiar face to many of the West End locals.
When it comes down to your true customers, you really want to support them in return. There's nothing like supporting a local member. There's also nothing like supporting a customer. So we did something supporting her, so she supports us, we support her.
The Greens believe the LNP's overwhelming majority and Labor infighting will work in their favour.
I think people see that the parliament is not very balanced with so many LNP. They got less than 50% of the vote, but they've got almost all the seats. So I think the locals will want to see a Green in parliament.
For too long, we've seen the big, powerful mining magnates making the judgment calls. And of course, we'll continue to see that with the LNP and the influence of Clive Palmer. I think people want to know that actually they're in charge again, that this is a people-focused parliament.
Francine Norton reporting. Anastasia Palaszczuk is in the unenviable position of having to lead a greatly diminished Labor Party. She joined me in the studio this afternoon. Anastasia Palaszczuk, has Anna Bligh left Labor in the lurch by resigning her seat so soon after the election?
No, I don't think so. I mean, that was a decision entirely for her to make, and
she weighed up her choices and she's made that decision, so I'm quite sure she's comfortable with it.
What are the chances of Labor holding on in South Brisbane?
Look, it's going to be tough, and we're under no illusion that it's going to be tough out there, but the branch members will decide the candidate for the Labor Party, and we'll work very hard to make sure that person gets elected.
Labor is no doubt going through a period of very intense soul searching at the moment. In your view, why did Labor lose the election on Saturday?
Jess, there was definitely it's time for a change. I think it had been building up over a number of years, and that's always a problem for long-term governments. And what we saw on the weekend was absolutely horrendous. You know, I didn't think that we'd be in the position of around 7 members. I expected there to be a lot more. But the electorate sent a very, very clear message that Labor needs to pick up its act, we need to do better, and we have to change.
How do you need to pick up your act, and how do you need to change?
Well, listening. I think there was a very, very strong evidence out there that government had stopped listening to the people, and when that happens, people stop listening to the government.
You're referring to asset sales there in particular?
Oh, look, that was obviously the pivotal turning point. Look, we've acknowledged that during the week. Our caucus met up in Ipswich. As you know, Ipswich suffered a 30% primary swing, which is just huge. We need to get back to our grassroots. After that, I went and visited some workers at Claypave, and they said to me for the first time in their lifetime, they did not vote Labor. They had lost confidence in us. They were happy that I was out there talking to them and listening to them, and that's what I need to do now as the new leader.
Why did it get to that point, though, that you stopped listening?
Well, Jess, I think, you know, in government, we get tied up with the day-to-day business of government, which is a lot of briefings, a lot of meetings, you know, travelling around the state, attending different events. And you really have to make sure that you make the time not to be in that ministerial office, but to be out there connecting with voters and listening to what the community wants. And unfortunately, that is what happened to Labor. But this is a new start. It's a fresh beginning. We are very, very small in number at the moment, but I tell you what, we have a very, very strong spirit.
With just 7 or 8 MPs, how are you going to be an effective opposition?
Well, Jess, we have to do the best that we can, and we're all up to it. We had our caucus meeting. We're determined to do the best that we absolutely can. We will hold the Newman government accountable. 3 of us have been ministers previously, so, you know, we know how government operates. If you take away the Premier and you take away the Treasurer, Tim Nichols, when you peel back, there's not much there. So, you know, they better be across their briefs because we will be asking the tough questions.
And you'll have to be across a lot of briefs because there are so few of you. Is there any way of working with the Independents or Katter's Australian Party to share some of those portfolios?
No. We've actually taken the decision that we will distribute the shadow portfolios. We will distribute the shadow portfolios amongst ourselves, and the Independents will remain independent. I've had a conversation with Peter Wellington. He can still be very effective as an independent, making sure that the Newman government is accountable, asking the questions, and also by serving on the committees we can actually get to some of the issues as well.
How long do you think you'll be in opposition?
Well, Jess, you know, it's going to take a time for us to climb our way back. It's like climbing Mount Everest, I think I said earlier on the week when I was announced as the opposition leader. But we're going to work each and every day. We're going to work each week, and we're going to try our hardest and restore people's faith and confidence.
Realistically, 2 terms, 3 terms?
Well, no one can pinpoint that. As Anthony Chisholm, the State Secretary, said today in his column, the cycles of government changes because of the constant 24-hour media cycle as well. So, you know, I'm not happy with what the Newman government has done in the first week. They've made political appointments, and I don't think Queenslanders are going to like that. Michael Counterbiano, Peter Costello, even Tony Fitzgerald came out and said, you know, this is not the way it should be for a good start.
Anastasia Palaszczuk, thanks for your time.
Thank you.